talks about the Jewish people. He calls them emphatically that they are Israelites. Then he explains what that means. And the first thing he said was, they have the position of sons. The second thing is, they own the glory. What is glory? The word Paul is using here. It is an external appearance. It means that something is shining or radiating. We can translate it with radiance. If I translate it back into Hebrew, the most common word would be kavod, which comes from kaved, and kaved is heavy. So kavod is the weight. It actually talks about excellence, fame, honor, glory. So what this glory means is that everything has a glory. If somebody enters a room, a person, he has a certain personality, and there are some personalities whom you at once look at, and other personalities that you don't even notice. I'm not saying what is better or worse. I'm just observing that. I mean, a person whom everybody notes at once would be a bad spy, right? So it can be an advantage if you are not noticed. And on the other side, a leader who is never noticed is also a problem. But anyway, Paul here doesn't talk about the glory or the weight or the honor of a person, of a human being, but he talks of the glory of the Lord. He says that Israel has the glory of the Lord. It is this visible, luminous manifestation of the presence of the invisible God. On Mount Sinai, it was a consuming fire. Or when they had built the tabernacle and God entered the tabernacle, it was a cloud that was resting over the tabernacle. And the reason why Aaron the high priest should not go behind the curtain before the throne of grace that is on the ark, lest he die. Or when, just think about the situation when King Solomon had finished his prayer at the dedication of the temple. It says there fire fell from heaven and consumed the burnt offering and the sacrifices, and the glory of the Lord filled the house, so that the priests were not able to enter the house of the Lord. The glory of the Lord actually is an exciting structuring instrument of the book of Ezekiel. It is interesting to observe there that actually when the people of Israel had to leave the land of Israel, the glory of the Lord left the land of Israel. That's what the book of Ezekiel, the prophet Ezekiel says. And in the end times, before the glory returns to the land, the people of Israel has to return. So the book of Ezekiel very clearly tells us that what Paul says to the people of Israel belongs the glory. So the glory has bound itself to the people of Israel. And actually, for me as a German, it answers a terrible question. Some Jews living here in Israel, I encountered Holocaust survivors, and some of them asked, where was God in Auschwitz? And according to the Bible, the simple question is, God was in Auschwitz. And you know, the terrible thing with my nation's, the German nation's crime against the Jewish people, it wasn't the crime against humanity. It was a crime against the one true living God. So I could take you a lot of passages throughout the Bible. In the book of Revelation, it talks about the holy city, the new Jerusalem, as a tabernacle of God with men, in which he will dwell with them, and they will be his people, and he himself, God with them, will be their God. It actually uses there a word that's very interesting, and that's the reason why the city, this future Jerusalem, does not need neither sun nor moon because it has the glory of God. And if we go into the Tanakh, into the Old Testament, and look up what terms it uses for the glory, I want to read them to you, the ones I found, but I'm not sure whether I have found them all. You have to understand that Hebrew normally is a very stingy language. It's very short, very concise. But when it talks about the glory of the Lord, you suddenly have a lot of words. It's kavod, hod, hadar, pe'er, adar, aderet, gaon, gdola, tov, yakar, oz, tzvi, zohar, tohar, noga, netzach, tiferet, ziv. There's a lot of words, and I didn't get them all. But there's one word the rabbis used to concentrate that, and that's the word they deduced from the word to settle or to rest, to dwell, which is lishkon, shachan, and it's the Hebrew word shekhinah. And actually in the book of Revelation, there is a Greek word that the Greeks, I say it now, stole from Hebrew to use that, but they couldn't say a she, so they don't say shekhinah, they say skene, but it's the same root. Now, in concluding, I would like to hint you to something. You remember that I took the word hiothesia, the word possession of a son, and looked where it appears in Romans, how Paul uses it, and it showed me something. I do the same thing with the word glory. And the first time the glory of the Lord appears is in the first chapter, where it says that it talks about all men, that they have exchanged the glory of the immortal God for images resembling mortal man and birds and animals and creeping things. So what is the basic, if you want to describe sin, what is the basic appearance? People have said no to the glory of the Lord and say we'd rather like have something that is predictable, that we can tell what to do. And therefore, and I'm now in chapter 3, Paul realizes, and that's the second appearance of the word glory of God, that all men have fallen, have sinned, and fall short of the glory of God. I can translate that in a different, more understandable way, that I say what means that somebody is a sinner, simply he lacks the presence, the Shekhinah of the Lord. And therefore, and I'm now jumping to chapter 5, where the next time appears the word glory, and read to you from the very beginning of chapter 5. Therefore, since we have been justified by faith, we have peace with God through our Lord Jesus Christ. Through him, and now again, listen exactly what Paul says. Through him we have obtained access by faith into this grace in which we stand, and we rejoice in hope of the glory of God. Paul here emphasizes that we hope, we expect the unbroken presence of the one true living God. The word doxa, the word glory, appears once more in Romans 6, where it says that Christ was raised from the dead by the glory of the Father. So this radiance, this weight of the one true living God was presence or entered this dead body on Easter morning and drove death away by its very presence. Now, you have that in mind? God says we are lacking it because we exchanged it, the glory of God. He says we in Jesus hope for it. And now here in Romans 9, he does exactly the same thing. He says, but they who are Israelites, they have it.